All right, guys. It's our winners match. Let's see who gets that first seed, much coveted first seed, into the playoffs of PiGFest. Whoever wins this match, of course, goes into essentially the upper bracket of the playoffs. Clem in the right side of the map for Team Liquid. His opponent in the top left side, a Protoss player that's actually had a lot of close matches with him and even beaten him a few times in the last few months head-to-head. It is Zoun. Roddy, we were just talking there about kind of the Stargate coming back into the meta. Double gas builds, all sorts of cool things. Are you a believer in Phoenix in this matchup? I know back a while ago you did Blink Stalker Zealot a lot of the time. I haven't seen a lot of your PvT recently. What are you enjoying?
Well, I mean, what I'm enjoying and believing are two different things, right? Because a lot of the ladder games, you know it as well. If you've been playing for this long, you know you're not going to win EWC last summer or upcoming summer, right? If we're going to be there. So you just do what you enjoy. And for me, it's always about a bit of variety. And yes, I love building Phoenix. Some people think I build them every game. It's like, no, I'm playing a decent amount of games with just some Zealot and Blink Stalker. Sometimes we even go quick Colossus. You just try to switch it up a little bit. I'm not a big Storm believer. Turns out that if you F2 all your High Templars everywhere, like, it's hard to get max value out of them. I do love the Phoenix. If I would play a PvT that I truly want to win, I would definitely play Phoenix Zealot. I think Phoenix Zealot is incredibly good. I do think there is a really big value in not playing Phoenix Zealot every game. Because a lot of Terrans will play completely different against Phoenix Zealot than they'll play against Phoenix Colossus. And that's obviously 100%. A very popular build in the past as well. So I believe there is a lot of incentive to not always do one thing. You can do Phoenix Zealot 3 out of 4 games or even 4 out of 5. But it's really important to give them some different looks and surprise them with the Phoenix Robo from time to time. Or the other way around. Be a big Phoenix Colossus enjoyer, but also throw in the Twilight once in a while. I believe that's where the true strength of the Phoenix lies. And yes, Pig, I do love the Phoenix.
100%. No, I'm with you. I mean, Clem loves to open up with an early medevac. He does this double gas almost every game in this matchup. He likes to do a 1 mine, 6 marine drop. And he does this so regularly. And if you hide Stargate and Phoenix, you can often shut it down and get a really good momentum lead against him. So the Stargate does come down here. It is hidden in the back. The Adept's there on the high ground. And Zoun is going to be looking for that Phoenix surprise. Now, the good thing about Clem is he hits so early because it's double gas. He gets in there before there's like 3 or 4 Phoenix. Often the third Phoenix is just about to pop when he arrives at about 4:20 or so. So he can kind of unload, go, uh-oh, there's Phoenix, get out of there, unload his Marines on the low ground and usually escape. Whereas if you go for like one of these old school triple mine drops, there's just nothing you can do against Phoenix.
In a weird way, having the energy recharge is actually very useful too, because even if they attack you very early, and sometimes in the past you only had 2 Phoenix, or you have a 3rd Phoenix coming out, but then you've already wasted 1 lift on one of the basic units, you're like, I can't really use my lifts properly right now. Using energy recharge early on some of the Phoenixes to give yourself an extra lift or even 2 extra lifts can really make a very, very big difference. Clem, obviously, if we are talking about it, Clem is also thinking about it, right? And the more that Protoss players are hiding stuff, the more that he will probably start thinking, like, this could very well be Stargate. So I'm certain that he's got it in the back of his mind.
It's going to be interesting to see what Zoun's follow-up is. We've seen, like I said, a bit of Charge Immortal following this up, straight charge. But I think he's capable of playing Phoenix Colossus as well, and I really do, I mean, as someone who likes to just play one style on the ladder in my own games, I've experienced firsthand what you were talking about before. My boy Epic, one of the best Terran players on NA. Whenever I think a build's unbeatable, he shows me just how bad it is against a Terran with a brain. You play Stargate every game against him. I mean, Terrans will skip tanks, defensively skip Ravens, go straight to Stim Bio, or they'll go hard for a Viking Cyclone Marine push. You can see here, unloading the Marines, unloading the Cyclone. Those Phoenix need to get out.
Getting a single Marine, a little bit of damage on the Phoenix, but that's obviously not a big deal. Clem is not going to be mega happy, but also not sad, because he's not going to lose the medevac, he's not going to lose the Cyclone, so now he knows for sure what's up. He was probably thinking about it. The only thing he doesn't know yet is this going to be a Twilight Council or a quick Robo as a follow-up? But since so many gamers lately have tried to make the Phoenix Twilight work against Clem, I'm sure that's his biggest concern. And he will still find a way to sniff it out eventually. At this point, as a Terran, you're just a little bit handcuffed. It's hard to scout, right? Sending out 1 unit at a time, it's not going to do anything for you. Phoenixes are quick, they're everywhere. They're going to lift those units up. So Clem needs to find it out. Throwing down a random scan could work, but it's also a tiny bit risky. But it seems like he knows. Clem always knows.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's committed so much to tanks this early. Already a third tank coming in. It feels like he's going to go for a push. I mean, part of me wonders if he doesn't fully realize what's happening, if this Reaper doesn't get the scout he needs, is he going to do that crazy build where you like swap the starport on the reactor or something like that, you know, and just start pumping Vikings?
He does like that, right? Where he just completely skips medevac production and he goes pretty heavy on the Vikings. But that's something he mostly does against Phoenix Colossus. And since this is not Phoenix Colossus, he hasn't done that yet. And there's a good chance that he won't. He's gonna lose one of the Reapers. Second Reaper still alive. I'm a little bit surprised, by the way, that Zoun prioritizes attack over armor. Yeah, armor is better if you play Phoenix Zealot, but
100%.
He likes attack, maybe because he likes to get those Immortals quickly that you were mentioning earlier, and the Immortals do benefit a bit more from attack. But here we go. Like, Clem has a lot of units, but the moment that charge is done, if Zoun can just take a decent fight with a Guardian Shield and like 8 Zealots with charge, he's fine. But doesn't quite have 8 Zealots yet, Pig.
Yeah, he's only got 4 Zealots, 3 Adepts right now. A few more finishing warping in. The Phoenix will take care of the Vikings rather quickly. Cyclone does get picked up as well, but so many Marines left on the ground. And there's just a bit too much firepower. Clem here with the numbers. And it feels like, yeah, he's up to 5 gate now. But for most of this, Zoun was only on 3 gate. And he wasn't preemptively making a lot of Zealots. But, oh, the charge, bringing the tank-friendly fire onto those Marines. You can see how bad the Marines scale the longer it goes. The Zealots are going to clean this up. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of Phoenix went down, sentries went down as well, but the tail end of the fight is always where it snowballs for the charge player against a Terran who has skipped stim to commit really hard to one of these early pushes.
That looked so bad for Zoun for a little bit, where it just kind of felt that he was running out of steam, where he was losing all these units one by one. But in the end, with the batteries, he's able to keep this Nexus alive, and the final warp in made all the difference. I don't think that he's got the numbers to immediately counter. There are some moments where you can. This is not one of the moments. And since he already lost a Phoenix or 2, I assume 2 Phoenixes went down, 4 even in total. This is not a moment where I think you want to continue to be aggressive. What you do want to do is get some value out of all that energy that you've been banking up on these Phoenixes, because he saved a lot of energy for the fight, rightfully so. All good in the end for Zoun. Looked very scary there, right? When he only had like 3-4 Zealots, the Adepts, the Sentry, and most of the time it's the first fight that's all decisive. First part of the battle really didn't go that hot for him. Second part went a lot better. He's gonna follow it up big with Quick Storm. What's your take on that?
I love Storm generally. In this situation, it's going to be a sort of in-between tech. Now, I mean, he doesn't have a Robo, and Storm without Robo is not great, without being able to drop them, right? You can spread them out, you can buy time, but it doesn't, you know, it's best for ambushing a big push for Terran, right? Dive on them with the Storm drop, jump on them with Zealots, or for, you know, just stalling out in the late game and spreading them out and controlling the map. But he's actually thinking about doing a Storm push, which is really cool. And this is what I said about Zoun kind of does his own thing a little bit. Ooh, doesn't just necessarily play the way everyone else does. Oh, this is cool. He's actually going to get the tank there. Dropping Marines on the high ground, kind of brave for Clem into that many Phoenix. But you know what? A Phoenix for a tank, getting another one heavily damaged, I think is okay for Zoun. He's going to have to go into Blink and a Robo at some point. But he's saying, screw that. I want to kill him. I want to go for the win. I'm not going to sit back. And I think Clem's sending these Marines out at the perfect time. If he was blindsided by this, it could have been really rough. Now, Zoun goes for a 4th Nexus in front of that. Goes for his +2 attack, which is going to make his damage great. But as you mentioned earlier, this is a composition where +1 armor is a far superior upgrade with this style, especially compared to +2. So that's a little bit worrying. Here we go. Probes coming in with hallucination to try and set off those Widow Mines. Very cute move for Zoun, but Clem focuses it down. He's going to have to tank the Widow Mines with the Zealots. Good micro so far by Clem until he eats a Storm. Way too dangerous for Clem.
Second Storm also kind of good, but there are 8 Widow Mines in total. Attacking into 8 Widow Mines without a single observer seems so incredibly difficult, even if you can land a couple of sweet Storms. Clem's army low on HP, Zoun's army low on HP. I think a couple Zealots are being annoying in the natural as well. Bunker is mega useful here. There's even a backup bunker. Clem has really read this incredibly well. I think the Storms surprised him a little bit, but all the mines and the bunkers was a great choice. But Zoun, with all these gateways, just continues to warp them in, and now the High Templar is morphing into Archons. He wants maybe an orbital. I don't think he's going to get the orbital pick. I love what Zoun has done, but it might be the right moment to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, the Archon does get taken out by the Widow Mine. Yes, you get a lot of SCVs, but you've got a 4th Nexus up. You've got to get out of here as Zoun. You're not going to get that Nexus. He may be going a little bit too hard. I love that he got so aggressive there, and he knows that Clem's army's so weak. Zealot warping on the left side. I love that he's got these forward gateways, skipping the Robo, giving him so much more army. That was an excellent Zealot flank, and that might just be the straw that broke the camel's back. That is a wild trade there. So well done by Zoun. The command center is burning right now. The Marine Marauder coming forward. Clem is broke. He's got a slight army supply advantage, but the Phoenix have been getting great value, and they're gunning down the Medivacs as well. If 2 more Medivacs go down, which they will, the SCVs are forced to fight. More High Templar have come in. They don't quite have Storm yet, though. Oh gosh, the EMP. Look out for the EMP. The Ghost comes forward, but he doesn't quite have the ability to EMP. The feedback lands. Nice move by Zoun. Zoun microing his heart out. He's transferred some workers over from the main to the 4th base as well. Excellent. The Archon does go down. 1 Storm covers the retreat. Zoun trying to morph those low energy High Templar into an Archon. Doesn't want to fumble the Storm High Templar into that. Excellent pushing from Zoun, playing with his very own build orders in a style that no other Protoss is, and Clem is up against the wall.
Yep, Zealot's mega low on HP, but Zoun just continues to warp in so many 4 HP units. You don't want to throw away the Phoenixes here, by the way. The Phoenix is still very useful for that constant damage. They are pushing out on the Medivacs, and Clem sees a few more units show up, knows there are more storms available, taps out. Zoun takes the 1-0 lead. It honestly, Pig, it looked like it was kind of going wrong until we had that Zealot warping coming in from the bottom left. Clem clearly knew that there were warpings coming from the top right, but he still wanted to land that Orbiter again. He wanted to retake control of that area, and he's like, I'm fine, because I can still kite back. But the Zealots that came in from the left side, they really surprised Clem, and they got so much value. A little bit of a wraparound, a lot of sweet swipes, then obviously the Medivacs are once more taking damage from the Phoenix. Cool attack by Zoun, excellent game.
All right, guys, going into map 2 for Eldorado. How do you feel about this map, Roddy? Does this favor one side?
I don't know if it really favors one side. I think it depends a lot on what kind of a player you are, and I think that goes for a lot of the matchups. Like TVZ, I think is a matchup that stands out, where you can clearly say, very good for Terran or very good for Zerg. I think TVP will favor certain playstyles, but I don't know if it really favors Terran or Protoss.
Yeah, I think I feel that as well. It is interesting. A lot of players like to hide their tech kind of on the high ground, low ground there. Sometimes Hero even builds it on the natural as well. Gets the early Zealot depth pressure across the map. Obviously, prisms and drops going along the bottom side can be very powerful if you're both expanding along the north, but they also can get jumped on pretty hard on the south side. Like, you know, we have seen a few times like Medivacs going across this bottom side and Blink Stalkers just blink under them and snipe them down if they get spotted by observers. I do think, just thinking about like Zoun's style recently, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Twilight this game, just because he does like to alternate between Blink and Phoenix openings.
Yeah, and I think that's good, and I think that's the best way to play Protoss. This is not... there's one thing you can say about this map, and it is not the best map for Blink Stalker openings out there, right? It's not one of these maps where you load in, it's like, alright, 4-gate Blink Stalker, don't care what the Terran opening is, that's my go-to, and I'm going to cook, because it's going to be so hard for them to have tanks everywhere and keep those bunkers alive. It's impossible to blink from the low ground in the center of the map all the way into the main. There's a little bit of wiggle room in the natural, but if you're in the natural already and then you blink into the main, it all feels very committed, because you can't really get out unless you go through the natural again, so it doesn't scream Blink aggression to me. I do think it's a very good map to go for a 2, if not a 3-gate, just 3-base setup, right? Get Blink, get Observers, and you can move Stalkers out just to soft contain the Terran and keep taps on them, make sure that nothing is going to surprise you. I don't like 4-gate Blink Stalker aggression on this map, but I do think it's good for a Blink into very heavy macro play.
Yeah, definitely. Good room for Colossus to maneuver. One thing recently we have actually seen a lot of, and Clem has fallen victim to it against Hero many times, +2 Colossus timings have been back in the meta. It's a build where, you know, basically you open Blink and then you go into the quick foregas before taking your 3rd Nexus. Get a nice early Forge and Colossus, and you hit with 3+2 Colossus. If you beeline towards that, you know, you delay your 3rd Nexus and probing it up, it can actually have just such power at sniping down the bio. And Terran often, you know, there's a window where they're at like 2 or 3 Vikings, you've got 3 Colossus, maybe they get up to 5 Vikings, but you start sniping them with Stalkers and it snowballs. But we won't be seeing that. This is a Phoenix opening, building another pylon in the back. Interesting. What is Zoun doing back there with that probe?
Not sure. Not probe movement that I'm very familiar with, and in the end he didn't do anything with it. Maybe he wanted to complete the wall off to make it impossible for a Reaper to hop up, but
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I think
maybe like reactive gate block on the high ground if the Reaper tried to run past when the Adepts moved to the low ground, because he just wants to make like 100% sure you can't jump up and see that Phoenix, I guess. So he's like, hey, if you dive for the vision, that's going to be it. And this is it. Putting Clem in the dark seems to be a big part of the openings. Clem is, he's rushing medevac off double gas pretty much every game. So he's always going to just scout with the medevac. And that seems to be his kind of one-size-fits-all solution to this scouting denial that Protoss players are focusing on. Early battery, triple adept into Phoenix. Kind of cool that Zoun's playing the same build. If he sees the same build from Clem, I wouldn't mind him getting a fourth gateway. I mean, it still worked out well in his favor. Actually, you know what? I think it's probably better to be even greedier, because what are the chances? Even if Clem goes for like a Cyclone into a siege tank, I don't think he commits to that push again. Not against a Phoenix build, because he got kind of walloped by it last game. I don't think he's going to put himself in such a risky situation when he's down 0-1.
Clem is going to spot it with his 6 Marines. This time there's no Cyclone inside of the medevac, so that does change a little bit. Might make it a little bit hard to get home. I would have loved to see Zoun stay a little bit closer with the Phoenix, because if you don't have to worry about a Cyclone, you don't need to stay so far away. Now he's got no idea where that medevac went. You're still not going to send your Phoenix to the other side of the map, because if the medevac does somehow sneak into your main, you're going to be in serious trouble. But he is playing Phoenix Colossus this time, so that is very different. And that's everything that we were talking about, Pig. I do love this from Zoun. I think this is the best way to play Protoss. Of course, you need to be comfortable and good with the Blink Stalker openings in this matchup. But it's really good if you can play Stargate, and then ideally, you play the 2 different versions of Stargate. Sometimes very heavy emphasis on gateway units, sometimes with quick robo units, maybe quick Phoenix Colossus. I love it. I think it's all very smart.
Phoenix have map control. Clem's gone into a quicker 2nd and 3rd barracks this time. So stim shields +1, about 7.5 minutes is going to be the sort of window where Clem's push could be getting scary. An Immortal starts up before Robo Bay, which is interesting. So Zoun very much prioritizing units right now in case there is that aggressive push coming forwards. Reaper's going to jump in.
Supply block by Zoun, by the way, the 70 out of 70. That lasted a little bit. It's too long, but good news is that he did have some units in production. That Immortal was obviously already in production, but still not perfect macro. And it felt that he was a tiny bit indecisive on whether or not he wanted to go up to 3 bases. First, he's like, yes, obviously, you don't want to be as greedy with Phoenix Robo as you do want to be with Phoenix Gateway, because you're going to have less units, and if you then get contained, if you then lose your Nexus, the game is almost over. Economically, the game is not that hot for Zoun. It's partially because of that supply block. But maybe the Phoenixes can start finding some value, yeah?
Double Widowmine snipe, very nice. Can kind of camp this production a little bit, see what's coming out there. Army coming forward, it's a pack of Marines and Widowmine. I mean, having a Colossus would change everything. This is not a scary push if you've got a Colossus out, but it's just started building.
If you don't have it, it does become very scary. And the Colossus is later, because everything was just a little bit later. But we have an observer that's going to give Zoun the heads up. And Clem, of course, does not have the vision that we have as observers. So he doesn't know how crazy, reckless, or aggressive he has to be. And I think in the end, Zoun will be able to get his Colossus out. And then I do really wonder, how is Clem going to get these units home, right? Like, I would love to see him just sacrifice 1 unit here, or soak it up on a single Phoenix. That's okay. Clem does get the cancel. Now Clem will immediately run for the hills, realizing, like, wait a minute, if it's that easy to get a cancel, I need to get the hell out of here. And now Zoun builds 3 more gates and a proxy gate. He's going for a 2-base Phoenix Colossus all in.
Old school, man. There's a reason I put that Zest 2.0 on his little player card there in our bracket image that we've got, because he will commit to these nasty timing attacks that other players just won't think to mix in there. And I mean, if Clem turtles up at home with tanks, easy defense. He doesn't have any tanks.
Ooh, that was very scary. There's 4 Widow Mines here. First, Vikings are in production. I mean, there's a reason why some builds are very old school, and that's because they're just not very good. Now, I hope that's not the case for this one, but it just feels that this army of Zoun is not going to be all that powerful. Maybe if you had a few more sentries, I would believe, but with only a single sentry, like, it really comes down to the Colossus getting the best hits ever on the Marines, right?
Oh, this is so good, though, man. Any fight's pretty good. Yes, he loses a Phoenix or 2. I mean, it's the Vikings are the problem, right? It's all about fighting against the Vikings. He's got to push in now. There's only 2 Vikings. Big Widowmine in the middle. there. But without a siege tank or a wall off, Clem's Marines are so vulnerable that the Colossus just need to move in and shift click. If he can hit those Marines with the Colossus, then Zoun will be able to take him out. But, I mean, the Vikings are doing work. The big spready for Clem. Beautiful surround and getting the army away from his forwards push. So well done by Clem. He's still got Vikings left over. I like the idea for Zoun, but I think he just was too late on the Colossus. If he could have defended his third, I think Clem, you know, would have been way less careful, and there's more of an opportunity. But getting that third base snipe, Clem knew exactly what to do from there.
Too much.
Yeah, that game there, I think Zoun is going to be thinking, oh gosh, it was one of those moments where you go, oh, pull that unit, spread it to take the Widow Mine. You click the wrong unit. Instead, you pull the Widow Mine into the middle of your army. It happens a few times in a row, and you go, oh, no doubt. A little frustrated with his execution there, but of course, forgetting to bring the Observer was the real problem for Zoun. He had to bring the Observer. That's what the entire push was all about. But it's going to be Amygdala to decide the winner's match, to see who gets that coveted spot into the playoffs. And Clem in the top right, I would not be surprised if he opens double gas. It's almost every game for him. If he has a formula that just consistently gets him to a good position, he will utilize it so much over and over again. And people get frustrated. They say, Clem's boring. He does the same thing too much. The thing about, yes, if you want to see a guy just win with build orders and strategy and having to do cheeses and stuff, yes. The problem with Clem is he's so good. It's just a higher win percent for him most of the time to do the thing he's practiced over and over again. That being said, hey, he's going single gas. He's going to go for a 1-Rex expand, so he is mixing it up here in Game 3.
Yeah, and I love it. I wouldn't hate just very heavy emphasis on the bio, because I always think no matter what you do as a Terran, if you can make it up to the point where you've got a lot of Marines, Marauders, Steam, Combat Shield, maybe 2 Medevacs, and you're not dead yet, well, in the hands of Clem, you're in a really good spot. It doesn't really matter what you're facing, because he's just so incredibly good. It can go wrong even for Clem before that. There are some move-outs where it's with a couple of Marines and a Widowmine, or a couple of Marines and a Cyclone, where if it falls completely flat on its face, Clem is going to be in all sorts of trouble, because then the Protoss can just retaliate and counter in a deadly way. Yeah, let's see. Let's see where Clem takes it. Overall, it's been another very close group pick. Yesterday was close and competitive. Today has been very close and competitive as well.
This has been very exciting, and it's outperforming my expectations. I was kind of thinking this is almost a glorified qualifier, this group stage, you know? It's best of 3 GSL format. Hopefully see a few good matches mixed in. But it's outperformed my expectations by quite a lot, and I am very happy. Clem, he's going to be going for that factory wall off on the left side, ready, of course, for the 4-gate blink potential defense. Reaper, can he do the buggy jump up the cliff? He's trying to click it in the right spot. There is a little bit of a buggy ledge there, where if you click the Reaper just right, sometimes it can jump up. But it's inconsistent.
Twilight Council this time for Zoun, and I do kind of like it, just looking at the map where on Eldorado it's impossible to blink into the Terran main base. Here, of course, it's not. There is a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of potential for Stalkers to be annoying in the natural. You can even get into the bottom of the natural, very deep into the natural of the Terran, and then blink out via the bottom to like a potential 4th base location, I guess that would be for Clem. There's so much to worry about here as a Terran when it comes to the blink Stalker aggression. Really like at least the build orders that Zoun has chosen so far. He traps the Reaper as well. He's gonna get it. That's cool. And Clem in the dark pick.
Yeah, he's gonna have to be just playing a bit more standard. Hellion will be his scouting unit. That's going to, of course, spot for any early 3rd base. Adept's moving out to the left side. Already a probe on the right watchtower. And it looks like that should get there in time to see that Hellion coming over. Stalker's in position with the Adept at home, so he's going to try and chase back to trap the Hellion. Widowmine coming out. Medevac, more Marines producing. And the Adept will get another hit on the Hellion as Clem falls back. 2nd Widowmine on the way. I am not a big fan of, like, 2 or 3 Widowmine drop builds as much as I used to be. I definitely don't mind the 6 Marine 1 mine, but 2, 3, 4 mine drop builds, I feel like they are just past their utility date. I think the Protoss players are so good at defending them, combined with the fact that everyone's either rushing out Hallucination or Observers or Phoenix these days. And Clem, I mean, it seems like he thinks it's Blink, Roddy? Is there like a tell that I'm not seeing? Because I feel like the scouting's been denied.
He saw a Stalker. And in the other games, I don't think there was a Stalker that early. So I think that's already, like, if the Stalker shoots at the Hellion, I think that's already a bit of a tell. 4 Widow Mines, I'm completely with you. 3 Widow Mines is a bit extreme. I think double mine is not that bad. I still think you can do something with it, especially if you're as good as Clem when it comes to on-barrel retargeting. To go back to your other point, Protoss players got very good against it. If we're not good against it now, Pig will literally never be good against it. There's a big fat red line that says, hey, we're going to attack this worker. And then it takes forever. It deals less splash damage. I mean, if we can't defend it now, mate, we should just give up.
Yeah, that Widow Mine, it has been touched a few times in different patches to make it a little bit less oppressive. A little bit less splash damage on it as well. Stalker Warpins to block the Hellion. Hellion Scouting's been really effective, though. It's okay to lose that now. Wow, it's going to escape anyway, potentially. Stalkers are on the front. Bunkers there. And I think we're going to see more of like a classic, kind of like what happens in Clem vs. Hero a lot of the time, where Clem just kind of turtles on up, plays very defensive, pokes out a few times, but he really just looks to not make any mistakes. And a lot of the time, he kind of waits recently for the Protoss players to make mistakes and throw away their units, and that's when he capitalizes, which is very different to the Clem of old, where he used to always be in their face from start to finish.
There's still one more Widow Mine, by the way, in the main base. Zoun is probably not going to expect that Widow Mine, but if he unloads far away from it, then he's going to get the heads up. He blinks into the tank, gets one shot off on an SCV. I think he killed a single SCV there. A little bit unlucky for Clem, right, that he repositioned the low ground Widow Mine, and then right when he did it, there was War Prism and a couple Stalkers on top of it. But other than that, I'm sure Clem is happy with the fact that this is not the hell yet for the Terran. We don't have to worry about 12 Stalkers blinking into the main, a few more into the natural, Bonkers being forced to repair. Clem probably looks at this and be like, hey, if you let me do my thing, if you just let me get up to 3 bases and I can get a proper army out, I really don't mind it if I'm a tiny bit behind. But you know what? Zoun has not even cranked out that many probes, and I'm looking at the work accounts.
Yeah.
56 against 53. I think that's a very, very modest lead for the Protoss.
Absolutely respectable. We've got Robo Bay on the way, just off 3 gas as well, so I think Zoun's going to be dropping a 4th base any moment now, I would imagine. Then again, did he see the 3rd command center? He didn't. Where are the observers? I guess they got pushed back because of the Raven, didn't they? So hiding the 3rd command center this long is great. If Zoun saw that 3rd command center being so early, now he sees it finished at pre-7 minutes. At this point, you know it's an incredibly early one. But, oh, he unsieges the observer, does not shift-click it away. That's, yeah, one of those things where I guarantee you if he's playing on the Korean server, he shift-clicks that away, but you can't shift-click a unit that's not unsieged yet. Now, Clem just killed one of his own units. He loves to do that. He says, look, I got the observer. I know that's a ping issue, so I'll kill one of my own guys. I do like to do that.
I'm a bit worried for Zoun, because he's literally behind in workers at this point. He's going to be behind in upgrades, even though he's got his own +1 finishing up. Good news is that he's got a Colossus, but it's not like Clem has nothing that's good against the Colossus. Clem has 2 tanks, 9 Marauders, and don't forget about that Raven. We may not have Interference Matrix, but a couple other turrets are actually very useful too. I don't see how Zoun really casually defends this base, but Zoun is going to show us the way. Clem doesn't have everything here. It's a decent amount of his units, but not everything. He's leaving some units at home, I guess, to deal with a potential Zealot by. And Zoun's still forced to cancel this, and that's a massive anti-armor missile too. And Clem can now just on siege go home, be like, cool, cool, cool. 3 base against 3 base. I'll take that any day of the week.
I love the way he picks up his siege tanks to get out of there as well, because I do feel getting the 4th is like a freebie you did not even need as Clem in this game. You're not expecting to get a 4th base, but you get it and you're like, oh, okay, quick, pull back, take the advantage and secure it. I wouldn't be surprised to see things like, you know, the 2nd Engineering Bay and Armory to go down in a little bit, the Ghost Academy, 4th Command Center, all those things Clem will need to set himself up for the long game. And Zoun, as you said, yeah, kind of low economy for him. He definitely could have pressed it a bit further, and I think it comes down to the Raven denying the Observer, him not realizing there was such a fast 3rd Command Center, and Zoun is kind of famous for sitting on like 63, 65 probes, and just making Colossus Stalker Zealot and just chilling in this matchup. He's happy to be down on Army, or down on workers, I should say, as long as, and just invest in Army and slowly build up a big force. And he's good enough with his micro. He can still beat even guys like Clem in the late game, but Clem, of course, is just going to have more of a safety net, more money, you know, more chances to make a little mistake skirmish here or there and rebuild with the extra bank that he's going to have.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Zoun has definitely been here before, and where other Protoss players would perhaps panic or feel that they always need to be up a base and need to be up in workers. He's like, no, give me gateway units, give me a couple Colossus, and I'll make some magic happen. But he's going to definitely need to make some magic happen. Because at this point, I don't get excited over anything really on his side, other than perhaps the fact that +2 is about to finish up. Colossus poking with +2 is good. But Clem already has 5 Vikings. Zoun also, like, you look at his army, 100 army supply, that's good, but he has got 22 zealots, 44 army supply of pure zealots, and it's not like Clem is not ready for it. Not like the doors are wide open everywhere. We're looking at Widow Mines, we're looking at missile turrets to keep war prisms at bay. I think this looks very rough for Zoun, but I want to be wrong, Pig. I want to somehow see him pull off some Zoun magic once more, where he just starts getting good fights and excellent run-bys.
I'd like to see Storm being added at this stage. I think, you're going to late game, and Storm is one of the most essential upgrades in late game PvT. But he is going for what appears to be a mothership instead. Single Stargate going down this late in the game. And I mean, Mothership, Colossus, a couple extra of Immortals have been added. It's kind of cool. 3 Immortals, 2 Colossus, and then Mothership, I guess. Arguably, you're making Clem overcommit to Vikings here. The question is, does your ground army beat his ground army without the Colossus? I'm not sure it does. And Bio here skirmishing really nicely. Clem's got an army advantage, and once his +2 attack finishes, that'll help him out quite a bit. Right now, the upgrade advantage does go in Protoss' favor. Fleet Beacon starts up, and we do not have a second starport pumping. There we go. It's just started up, and +2 armor started for Clem as well. Clem's got to be careful those Colossus beams. He's doing a pretty good job falling back with the Marines, so they're just fighting the Zealots. The Guardian Shield not in range of the front Zealots. Zoun's going to pull back, try and engage in and out. There's not a lot of medevac healing. Only 4 medevacs on this map, Roddy. Maybe if he can keep making Clem stim, he could get it. The Immortals are there to help snipe those command centers, but a perfect lift.
Repair is amazing. One of the Colossus does die. Zoun was actually doing that incredibly well, pulling the Colossus back. Nice blink with the Stalkers on the bottom right side, but now Clem has moved a couple tanks in range. First tank will fall quickly. The second one is going to do a tanking job. One more Colossus. Zoun really wants to get this command center. He's got extra Zealots showing up. Clem now even rallying more units. Finally using that Raven a little bit, by the way, in the bottom side. Zoun has done good, but without any Colossus, it is so hard to chase Bio. He really wants that CC, though, and to be fair, he's been pushing out a crazy amount of damage on it. Maybe if the Stalkers click on it at this point, he can get it.
It's so low, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get it, man. Zealots do come in, though. Clem, his army's perma-stim, but he just can't get through this 2-1 Protoss force. More Immortals being built, +3 weapons. 5th Nexus is up now. He's had a 4th mining for a while. 5th and 6th Nexus coming up. Mothership's on the way, and Zoun, dude, This is what's so weird about Zoun. This is he just does this style. You're like, man, isn't he a bit behind on income? Is his army really that good? But he's just so confident with his timing attacks. He's channeling the spirit of Zest. I feel like even before his military service, Zoun was good, but it feels like lately he's just got this confidence in these unique timing attacks, these plans, these builds. Clem, way down in worker supply now. His army supply is decent, but he needs just the right engagements. He needs good EMPs. Auto turret harassment comes in, manages to grab a few probes, deny mining on the gold. Warp Prism gets sniped. Nice move there for Clem.
Yeah, sniping the Prism is big. Zoun needs to be careful, even though he's a lot richer now and it's okay to throw away a couple units, that he doesn't keep running into those Widow Mines. I think what really helped Zoun there initially is that Clem left a lot of units between the natural and the third, because he felt that it's never just that army, right? There always has to be something else, but it was just that fight. And because of that, Zoun was able to take some really good trades initially, had great blinks until the tanks showed up, and when the tanks were finally there, a lot of the Vikings already died, so then it was still a little bit awkward. It just went well for Zoun, but he's very heavy on the Immortals now. This is not normally the kind of army that just wins the game. Clem sizes up this army and he says, I want a piece of that. I'm not afraid of a couple Stalkers and Immortals. What a fight here by Clem, but Clem also absolutely needed that pick, as he's still down 22 workers at this point.
Dude, he was dead in the water. I mean, even Twitch chat was saying Clem's making the Protoss OP face in his camera feed. Like, he looked frustrated. He looked like he was kind of half giving up there, and he finds the perfect engagement. The problem is that Zoun is, of course, 6 base, gold base mining, 4,000 minerals a minute. He's got 10 gateways there as well. I mean, it's such a good setup that Zoun, especially with the disruptors, to buy a bit of time, bait out those stims. Those medevacs are already low on juice. He can buy himself just a moment. He should be able to fight this with Time Warp in the near future. I think giving this base up is the right call for Zoun. Lands a good disruptor on the Marauders there, heavily damaged. Time Warp's going to have to go in soon. He's going to go for the cloak. Scan goes down immediately. And Zoun just uses it to buy time for his disruptors to recharge. He knows that the bio can only stim so much. Oh, massive nice disruptor.
Nova. Yeah, excellent Nova there. But Clem does have 3-3 on the way. He's back on 63 SCVs. Yeah, and would it hurt Clem, I think, to slow this game down now a little bit because he has been stimming so much, but maybe he still believes that he can get good trades against his army. Zoun blinks forward once more. Chasing, though, makes it hard to land those Novas, Pig.
Yeah, but he still gets one on a single ghost. Time Warp finally goes down here. Of course, Clem quickly pulls away from that Time Warp. Disruptor does go forwards there, gets itself a single Marine snipe. Marine Marauder Ghost coming forwards as well. And Zoun dancing back and forwards. Okay, the bio is pulling back. Clem, he's building Marines. He's making +3 armor. He does not have libs out. He doesn't have any Vikings left, which means the mothership's actually just a problem when it comes to tanking as well, right? Like, he can tank the Marines and Ghosts a heck of a lot. Zealots are running in on his third base, and the Observer sees that he is attempting to take the gold, but that is a very vulnerable expansion.
Yep, the Orbital is going to get picked off. We got so close to killing that command center earlier. Sounds like I'm going to get one of these bases eventually. Apparently not this one yet. A little bit risky perhaps to be fighting it this deep. Cloaking has been used. Ken gets thrown down. You said it. Mothership is tanky. Marines have a hard time gunning it down. And especially like when it comes to chasing, I mean, that's what Zoun loves, right? Go ahead and chase Clem. Keep on stimming. Keep on trying to dodge all these Novas. Like this, the Protoss will just get further and further ahead. Clem is just broke, Pick.
Yeah, I don't know about this chase, though, for Zoun. Seems like a crazy decision, but he lands an Omega Disruptor shot in the middle of Clem's army, and Zoun, you see him moving around in his chair and cracking a big smile. Clem looking justifiably frustrated. GG, well played. Guys, let's get into it. We've got down here in the bottom left the final deciding match of Group B. Bunny fighting for a spot in the top 8 of this tournament. And of course, a player who no one expected necessarily to be here. Well, I knew there was always a chance, but I think he was the heavy favorite to get out of the group in first place. Clem in the top right side of the map. He's won a Protoss series, but he's lost a Terran versus Protoss series. He's gone back to the side of the matchup he seems to be favoring right now. And I gotta say, he didn't look bad in that series versus Zoun at all. But Zoun just seems to play such a hard style to play against, right? Like, and it really feels like the way he just commits to these very decisive, well-planned attacks. I think it's specifically hard for Clem to play against because you probably remember, Roddy. Remember when Clem was like the second coming of Terran? We were all like, he's going to win a world championship soon. And then he just kept losing to Zest in every big tournament. I feel like Zoun's channeling that same sort of energy.
Yeah, it's tough, I think, as well as a Terran, because a lot of Protoss players like to play out that mid-game fight so differently. And where Clem clearly was anticipating War Prisms to hit the main base or big Zealot run bys into the natural, Zoun is just like, nope, entire army here, denying fourth. And Clem is like, I've got 20, 30, 40 supply ready to deal with all this stuff, and it wasn't there. And then he just started obviously falling behind. Did almost turn it around after that great fight against the Immortals, but Zoun was already in such a good spot. I just think it's hard. I think it's hard to always make the correct choices, but that goes for both sides, to be fair, right? Terran also has, or Protoss also has to figure out certain things somewhat in the dark, or you have to switch it up. It's just not easy. Professional StarCraft is very complicated, and these guys obviously have so much to think about. It's crazy that Clem once more is here, obviously tournament live on the line in this best of 3. And even if he makes it into the playoffs, he's going to have to start in lower bracket round 1. Not impossible for him, but it's definitely going to be tough. And it's going to be becoming a little bit annoying for Clem that he's dominating every single minor online tourney. But then the bigger ones so far in 2025, not quite working out for him yet.
Well, this is it, Roddy. So I don't know if you know, I'm part of the cabal that basically in the shadows kind of pulls the strings on StarCraft. And we basically, when we saw how dominant Clem was in the World Championship, we just could not let that stand. We said, Terran winning? Ah, yucky, yucky. So we basically said, you know what? Best of 3s. Let's go. Because we look, best of 7s, best of 9s. There's no way taking Clem never. We can do some more best of 3s in these tournaments. Masters Coliseum was our first foray. You know, we got him out with a single best of 3 loss to Spirit. We were like, yes, the perfect format. This one, he's going to need to lose 2, though. So I'm realizing I may not have actually committed enough to my shadowy cabal of anti-Terran hatred. But I'll have to try harder in the next one and maybe make it even more brutal if Clem can get through here.
Yeah, round robin is one of these things where I was like, kind of miss it. And then you see Clem get eliminated with 2 wins and 1 loss based on a map score tie difference. Everybody was confused for a while as well, as Wikipedia had the rules wrong. And people were like, maybe we shouldn't do round robin. Maybe we should just go back to that GSL format, which everybody has grown to understand. I think there is room for both. But
I think round robin, you need like a few more players in the group, right?
Yeah,
like,
I
you
agree.
can't just do 3 matches.
I agree. I think round robin is really fun if you got 6 or 8 players, but if you only have 4, yeah, then you have those 3-way ties, and you have to make up rules because you don't want to play tiebreakers for the rest of the day. Anyway, enough about all of that. TLDR, that was last month or 2 months ago, even almost at this point. Let's see what Clem's Protoss can do in the final best of 3 here against Bunny. As Bunny sneaks his Reaper into the main base. I mean, you have to scout, but is anybody out there surprised that Clem is going to play Blink against Terran?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, Clem's such a freak as well. You know, it is funny. I do see a few comments here and there, people going, oh, like, this is how broken Protoss is versus Terran right now. Like, you know, he would only do this here. He keeps beating Cyril on the ladder as well. For those who don't know, like, yes, Clem's obviously amazing at PvT, but he keeps taking ladder maps off Cyril in PvT. And that's just ridiculous. In my mind, that is insane. It goes to show just how talented, but also how much practice and skill Clem has developed with his Protoss, you know, in a well-rounded way. Widowmine drop.
Well, it's a triple mine drop. That might surprise Clem a little bit. All 3 mines have fire, though. Maybe Bunny can save 2 out of... Oh, you don't want to lose the medevac. You really don't want to lose the medevac pick. And he does. I mean, the 5 workers may sound okay, but it is just not worth it. It's legit better to kill only 2 workers there, but then keep 2 out of the 3, or not all 3 with mines obviously ideally alive, and keep that medevac healthy. Because now this is it. Now Clem has all the time in the world to just crank out as many workers as humanly possible, and there is so little that Bunny can do about it in the upcoming 60 seconds or even 120 seconds. That's really rough for Bunny.
Does Clem even know that Stargate exists? You know, I love seeing comments like this because it is funny. He really is like a Max Packs bot that we built out of a Terran French man. You know, he's like, I will do Max Packs most standard 3-gate Blink Rover every single time pretty much. But he's so good at it, dude. And like, once he gets these Stalkers over here, I honestly think they might be scarier than Max Packs Stalkers. Like, his Stalkers are actually just excellent. They're so in the Terran's face from start to finish. And you can't give him any openings.
Very, very good with it. Not sure if I would go that far, Pig, but that's just because I'm a bit of a fanboy.
I love me some Max Packs as well. I just am... He definitely... He makes a few more parting style decisions than Max Packs does. If anyone doesn't know, basically throws his Stalkers away sometimes. It does Clem. He gets a bit wild with it. Pushes for too much of an advantage, and 10 Stalkers down the drain can happen pretty quickly. It's going to be interesting to see, though. Charge coming in. Does he go 4 gas and Robobay at the same time? Zoun was sometimes going 3 gas, but I think he sticks to the original Max Packs 4 gas style pretty much always, and it's a good way to play.
The Observer is absolute money right now for Clem in the main base of Bunny, because then he can see, is Bunny going to drop a 3rd command center? Is Bunny pulling SCVs? Is Bunny dropping Rex 4 and 5? I mean, those haven't been dropped yet, and I feel like if that was Bunny's game plan, he would have had those by now. But it's just so nice to play Protoss when you have this much vision on the Terran side of the map, and you know exactly what they're doing, what kind of a move out. Earlier today, we already saw a beautiful engagement from Clem on this map. Maybe Bunny has learned from it, and he's like, this time I'll make sure that I can see those Zealots come in from the right side, but he's got less Widow Mines this time with the main move out. Does have a Raven to distract.
It's a lot of Zealots, man.
Bunny. I'm not impressed.
Oh,
this is just way too many Zealots, no?
Yeah, the tank sieging up does not help at all. The Marine's stutter stepping nicely, but he's got to get out. Thankfully, he focused a few Stalkers down before picking up and boosting, so he should be able to just barely get out of there. But man, there's so many Zealots. I mean, Clem, he's so tight on his macro. Oh no, he's got the full medevac in range. Bunny, pull it back, pull it back. The Widow Mines do get taken down. They get a few shots. At least the medevac does survive. And I love that there's shield batteries on all the bases. Only the natural is open in the Raven. Nowhere near the natural, so he's not able to do any counter damage. Command center halfway done for Bunny right now. Clem with a beautiful set of force fields. Hot pickup for Bunny. Saves some of the units, but he's on the back foot. Clem on the warpath. Robobay 4th gas and a 4th Nexus coming in with the +2 weapons. The auto turret harass is doing nothing on the other side of the map. And this is a problem. You know, we saw this earlier today as well. When they played, Bunny was dropping auto turrets into bases with shield batteries. And I think this is something, if you save up that energy, you can drop 3 or 4, do some real damage. But how often do we see Ravens with 10, 15, 20 kills? We're seeing Ravens with like 1 to 3 kills 15 minutes into the games against Clem. So Bunny's going to have to be a little more careful with that Raven attack.
Yeah, both players had a couple good moves there. First, Clem with the whole position on the Zealots, making sure that the winner mines didn't splash too much. The force fields were excellent, but so were the pickups by Bonnie. And then I think Clem, for a split second, thought, shall I just right-click on that command center? If all of his units are still currently unloading, he's got less damage, he killed a few SCVs. Decided against it for the second time today. A War Prism with 4 Zealots will fly into double mine. A little bit careless on the side of Clem. Does manage to get 2 out of the 4 Zealots out. 2 more Zealots storm into the third. I'm having a deja vu pick from what feels like 6 hours ago, but I think it was only 4 and a bit.
The whirlwind, man. The Clem Twister, where he gets in 3 bases at once, you know. Zealots are in the natural prism in the main army, at the front being annoying at the same time. But good defense by Bunny. He gets a Stalker of value there. And he did kill 3 probes this time around. I'm not sure where they went down exactly, but not too bad on the work account. If Bunny can stabilize and just hold this off, his medevac energy relatively low, but he's got a lot of medevac, so he should be okay for now.
Yep, Zealots will try to maybe get on top of the bio, but Clem, without extended turbulence, I don't know if you really want to get too crazy here. Trying to get a couple swipes off with the Colossus on those Marines that are next to each other is obviously always the dream, but it's hard. If you don't have range, it is just incredibly hard, which is why I'm surprised. Sometimes we see games where people make 8, 9 Colossus, never get extended thermal lens. Clem recently had a game where he made 11. And then some people are like, maybe it's on purpose. And I'm like, no, that doesn't exist. Nobody makes 11 Colossus without extended thermal lens. Nice blink as he guns down a couple of the Vikings. Excellent target fire on the Vikings with the Stalkers here on Clem. It does feel that Clem is just in a really sweet position. But he needs to be careful. But most of the time he knows exactly what he's doing.
Dude, 4 Vikings is such a big game changer. He does blink forward. That's the Clem blink forward that sometimes gets him in trouble. But killing 4 Vikings, not losing a single Colossus is crazy, man. I mean, now that's a lot of Marauders. He's got 5 sentries in the mix. Constant Guardian Shield. Clem really believing in the Force Fields and the Guardian Shields. The way he's just chipping away the 9 range on those Colossus is so big. Once you notice it, it's so obvious that the Colossus beam gets thicker, more significant, a bit more scary once it's got range upgraded. But I didn't even know there was a graphical difference on the Colossus attack when it was upgraded for the first decade of Starcraft 2.
Well, I didn't know that for 15 years, mate. So that's the first time I ever just heard that. What I do know is that Clem is getting some really good shots off with those thick beams. Once more, the Stalkers are going to get away. It's kind of smart to make all these sentries until the Ghosts are out. Now, the Ghosts will be out soon, but at that point, Clem has already gotten himself in such a sweet economic position that he can do this all day, every day. Double forge spinning, second robot being warped in. Supplies are close. Game doesn't feel that close unless Clem makes a big boo-boo. But he's playing with fire, but just wants to make sure he doesn't burn himself.
And the Vikings are looking like they might be able to barely get the Colossus, but they're paying an expensive price for it. And the Colossus does barely survive. Zealots reinforcing. I keep seeing that Raven drop those auto turrets in the back. It's just done nothing. It damaged the Robo Bay on the last one, which is unfortunate because it does feel like if Bunny could do something to distract Clem, maybe, just maybe, another auto turret throws down in the main, and that has got to be the most flaccid auto turret I have ever seen, mate.
So how's it going on the other side of the map? We're barely hanging in there. It's like, 80 damage on the gateway, you know, so that's something. It's honest work, Pig. There's a few more Widow Mines fire, but none of them are getting the connections. That Colossus that Clem saved earlier is now starting to regenerate all the shields. And there's 6 kills. Clem is just in a really, really good spot. The upgrades, Pig, are so freaking brutal. Stalkers, Zealots, Colossus with +3 against +1 bio. That's an unfair fight.
Dude, the micro is so good as well here. Just the way Clem can dance on the edge of committing to an attack, shaving off your units. And this is the next level thing we've seen in 2025. The level players are out. They're so good at just harassing the opponent on the front line without overcommitting and utilizing the range to chip, move and shoot, move and shoot. It's that extreme level of stutter step micro that makes this army so good. Force fields making it impossible for Bunny to even pull his SCVs. He can't even make a last stand. That's so frustrating. You can see it in his camera. Bunny kind of tossing his hands up and leaning back in his chair going, what the hell, man?
Yeah, Clem did a lot of things right there in the last few minutes, especially the way that he gunned down all those Vikings. The moment that a Terran can stabilize on 6 or 8 Vikings, it becomes a lot more doable to deal with that kind of an army. But Clem did a really good job in resetting that Viking count over and over again. But I do think it really has to go back to that first move out of Bunny, right? With the Marines and the tanks, like, you're supposed to kind of test the waters there, see what's up, and the moment you see that your opponent has no Colossus or Immortals, but has a crazy amount of Zealots, that's just not the fight to take. Like, that fight can never go well for him.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when your back's up against the wall. But you know what's good, guys? Despite the players having to play these brutal tournaments for our entertainment, we are, as always, able to provide them with some fantastic prize money. And that's thanks to you guys. Thanks to Kaplan GG, who just dropped $30 added to the prize pool. We're at $9,349. Appreciate that, dude. Next game will be starting up momentarily, as we are going on to Frostline for map 2. Frostline is going to be an interesting map. It feels like in that last game, it was, I think really the turning point for me. Go. Yeah. Let's just get into it. So I think the turning point was Clem committed so little to Stalkers, right? It was his triple mine drop. He killed 5 probes, didn't do much damage at all because he had a 3rd Nexus super early, so he probes back up. And then Clem doesn't commit to like a Prism 4-gate, 3-gate blink pressure. There wasn't like 9 Stalkers in front. He was like, here's 4 Stalkers and an Observer. I'm just chronoing probes, right? And go straight to 8-gate charge. And he just destroyed that first 2 tank push for Bunny. I think from there, it was like too much momentum for Clem.
Absolutely. The Widow Mine drop was just not worth it. 5 probes may sound okay, but it's just not okay. It's a one-time thing. It's not like it came back a second time, the 3rd time, and a lot of lost mining time. No. They flew in, dropped the mines, died, medevac died. That's rough. And then if you move out with Marine Tank and you get absolutely slaughtered, I mean, you got a couple Stalkers, but basically loses all the imported units, loses all map presence. It's almost impossible to play a TVP from that position against Clem also. The man is going to have to step it up. This is the map that we saw earlier today, and it gave us a mega close, exciting game pick with that Hero Colossus on the right side, saving that base in the end. But this was a really fun one. I hope it's going to be just as good.
Dude, that was a really fun game as well, because, yeah, Bunny did the hidden 3rd command center into 3 racks, then 5 racks medevac before engineering bay. So he played like a unupgraded bio swarm, you know? It was a cool style, but Clem scrambled really well to defend in that game, and I think that's what Max is really the guy who pioneered the style that Clem is playing, right? And every time, same thing when I'm watching like Max on the ropes against Clem, where I'm like, he's down 20-30 supply, he looks like he's dead, but he's just microing in 2 or 3 places, stutter stepping Colossus, using Guardian Shields, using energy recharge, using, you know, force fields, and you just kind of see him in the midst of these situations just take a 4th. When you think he's like, he needs everything in army, and you're like, really? You think you can expand while defending this, you know? And I think Clem has that same just faith that MaxPax has in the ability to play this solid style, to micro defensively, to eke out all those little defenders' advantages with chrono boosts and recalls and everything. And I feel like it's so impressive because over the years, we've seen players off race and pull out cheesy, abusive builds to take advantage of the weaknesses of their faction. Like, think about Scarlet massing Oracles in 2016 every single game to get them nerfed and stuff, right? Like, that's what we're used to seeing. We're not used to seeing. The modern age Clem's like, oh, I'm just like an amazing macro Protoss player with my off race. I am one of the best with my off race.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's actually unthinkable. Many, many years ago, it was truly unthinkable that you could be so good at so many little things with multiple races, but the kids really stepped it up. I think Rainer was also one of the pioneers in that regard, right? Where he's like, hey, I'm really good with Protoss, especially against Zerg. And it's not about like hitting an 8-gate all in or anything. Like, no, I can just sit back, I can macro, I can play the late game, and I can hang with the very best. And the home story cup win over Serral, even if it was just a map, I think it really inspired some other guys to be like, you know what? That can be that good. And maybe it has a bit to do with the ladder changing as well, right? Where a lot of pro gamers can't find games with their main race. So they're like, you know what? I'll play some off race because I still want to create content, hang out with people. They start playing Terran, Zerg, Protoss, whatever is not their main race. And like, hey, it's actually pretty fun. And then they start feeling really good in one matchup. And then they just get motivated to get better and better at it. And no longer be a one-trick pony, but just be incredibly good across the board. Clem might look like a one-trick pony because he does play Blink basically every game. I'm sure that he could play some Stargate, but I mean, these are tournaments. There's money on the line. Clem wants to perform. Of course, he's going to play the style that he feels is most effective in this matchup.
Adept's going to shade in for a bit of harassment here. Clem very good with that early Adept harass. Gets an SCV. Bunny, got to keep that other SCV protected as well, Matt. Easy target there for Clem. Grab himself whoa. This could be game winning. This is crazy. He can cancel that shade. He can actually hang out here. He doesn't even need to leave. He'll decide to just for safety, but that is crazy damage.
Really nice split target fire there. One on the Marine that has 1 HP, and the other Adept went for the Reaper. Reaper tried to run back into the bunker, but the shot connected right before the Reaper was able to hop in. It's very rough, very, very rough start for Bunny, and I am sure that he, just like many other Terrans, is not having the best time right now in this matchup. That's okay, you can kind of shake that off as soon as you get some momentum and you get things going. But if you then have a bad start where everything is already going wrong, and you know that these Adepts are already dealing more damage than they are supposed to, no matter how you feel about the matchup, it's going to be tough for Bunny to keep it together at this point.
Is a greedy camping playstyle the best versus Clem's Protoss? Is actually a really interesting comment, because Clem plays a very kind of defensive turtley style a lot against Max lately, and Hero as well, who both play somewhat similar styles, a bit different. Sometimes you'll get really in the face. It depends on the position you're in, and I really feel like right now, Interference Matrix is fascinating. I wish we got to see this off a better opening for Bunny, because I am worried that, you know, it's already too much control. Clem snap took a third. The moment he got that trade with the Adepts, he sent a probe to his third while he was still microing. Like, that's crazy, right? That's just him realizing there's no threat. I can do whatever I want. Goes to rush the third. Now he's already making charge. It feels like he's rushing charge, but it's just no. He's just in such a smooth position. He's going to get in a great spot. Now, Interference Matrix, not really common in this matchup anymore, especially with a single Raven, but he will be able to Matrix 2 Colossus. How long does Matrix last? It's like 9-second shutdown or something like that?
Well, I mean, for that to be the case, we need to have Colossus. And if I was Clem and I'd be this far ahead, I wouldn't even be worried about making Colossus. I'm just spamming gateway units. You become the gateway man. We saw the power of upgrades on full display last game, like 3-1. Even Stalker Zealot is going to have a field day with Bio. And it does kind of feel that Bunny just wants to... Oh, losing the Raven would be so rough. He won't lose it because the Observer dies. So that technically worked out for Bunny, but it's a little bit risky. He's adding 2 more Rexes pick. So we've got a 5 Rexes setup with Interference Matrix on 2 bases. So maybe that must be an SCV pool too then, right? And then I can sort of understand it. Because a lot of Bio units and SCVs, maybe they can win the fight against pure Gateway. But it's not going to be easy. And Clem is obviously going to be so good in not giving Bunny the fight that he's looking for with the SCVs and Bio units.
Big thanks, chat. Matrix is 11-second shutdown. So 11 seconds, you know, 2 different Colossus. It could be good. You know, who knows? Maybe Clem, like you said, I mean, just play Gateway. I think it's natural, though, for him to go 4th gas Robo Bay any moment now, just because that's what he does in the build order. It's the next step, and Colossus are very good versus these 2 base all-ins, trying so hard to get in for the scout. I think he can be pretty sure there's no command center hidden in the back after sieging that Observer. He sees that depot. Where could it possibly be? There could be barracks hidden in the back, but there's no room for a command center behind that mineral line. Clem should know what's happening. Robo Bay hasn't started. Templar Archives could work, or he could just mass gateway units. But I think you want to kind of counterattack with your Zealots, potentially cut off the rally, because you're going to have to bait out multiple stims. Unless you are confident you can just crush the army. I mean, there's not that many Marines. 22 Zealots against 33 Marines. Can he just A-move this?
Well, I don't know if you can just A-move, because sometimes SCV hold position can really trick. So I would still set up a nice flank, a nice surround, but this just looks good for Clem. Guardian Shield is mega in these moments, because Bunny obviously doesn't have a crazy amount of stims, doesn't have crazy amount of DPS. As long as you fight with Guardian Shield, you're fine. Clem is actually coming in from one angle with everything. In the main base, there is a little 8 Marine drop, so that's going to distract him. The anti-armor missile is good, but it's so many Zealots picked.
Oh my gosh, the number of Zealots, it's like anti-armor missile and SCVs to block. It doesn't matter if you got 30 Marines up against 25 Zealots, and I think because he sent 8 in the main, it was actually surprisingly close to a 1-to-1 ratio. Tank's just worthless against this army, right? But of course, Bunny didn't know what he was going to be going into. He needed to wait for more Marines and more SCVs against this specific army, and even then it was going to be a hard ask. Clem, with an amazing double adept pressure, gets insane damage, gets through a rather stressful group. And the man who went to sleep 4 hours before the group started, I think may have regretted that with how stressful today got for him. You could see it on his camera. But at the end of the day, he comes out on top, gets that 2nd place seed into the playoffs. He'll start in the loser's bracket, but at least his tournament hopes are still alive.